All right, welcome back to another recap. Some good stuff to go through this week. Rocky River Run 10K today, so we're going to go through that one in quite a bit of detail. And as well as that, the previous 7 days from Monday through to Sunday. So picking up from last week, had a good long ride on the weekend with the good long run on the Sunday, and then headed into this week, race week this week. So a few little changes to the schedule and to the program, but I'll talk through that and then we'll finish up with recapping my 10K race today. Monday morning, short trainer recovery. Again, you know the drill on this one. 43 minutes planned, 43 completed. Average heart rate 119, normalized power 183. So yeah, same as every Monday so far, just ticking the legs over after a heavy weekend. More so straight after the long run on the Sunday. I haven't been running on Mondays. Hopefully in the coming weeks I'll incorporate run on Mondays, though at the moment it's just a recovery day on the trainer. That's the beauty of having the bike there as an option. It's easy to jump on the trainer for 45 minutes, spin the legs out and actually get them moving without putting any load into them. So it's a great recovery tool, the trainer. Monday afternoon. So last week I didn't get into the gym at all or do any real recovery stuff. So this week I made a real point of ensuring that I get that done. So Monday afternoon, 20 minutes recovery. So simply put, foam roller on the ground upstairs here and just watch some YouTube or Netflix and ticked over. Rolled the muscles out, calves, quads, glutes, hamstrings, all those key muscle groups that we use to run. And I actually do think it made a difference for the week. So that was needed and I'm glad that I did it. Tuesday morning, from memory, the reason I got a backup session here, I called it backup, is it was super miserable weather, so super rainy, super wet, just super humid and gross. So I've been doing the bunch ride on Tuesday mornings. On Monday afternoon, I created this session as a backup session in case it was still foul weather, and it was. So I did this session on the trainer on the ergo downstairs. Great session, and tried to mimic that Tuesday bunch a little bit. Don't know if I really pulled it off, but it was great to actually be on the trainer downstairs, music playing, just in the zone. It was super humid, but that was good actually. I didn't mind that. So let's have a look into this one. It's a pretty long kind of set. Planned hour 51, completed hour 51. Average heart rate 138, normalized power 219. So good watts. And the funny thing is, like, I'm not really doing much bike specific work, though I still seem to be maintaining that bike strength that I have, which is great, because come later in the year I'm gonna go back to that. So I'm using the bike sessions as a tool for the marathon prep, but also in the back of my mind knowing that I don't want to just let that completely slide, because come later in the year I'm going to want to use that again as I get back into some triathlon later in the year. So let's ensure we got some heart rate here. So clicking through this set, nice long warm up. This is essentially all warm up to here before I really start the efforts. So we'll just click our way through it all and go through it in a bit of detail. But yeah, there's nothing really too special through the start. So 5 minutes, average power 138. 5 minutes, average power 159. 5 minutes, average power 169. So just a bit of a build here to open the legs up. 5 minutes, average power 176. 5 minutes, average power 143. So this 15-minute block here, I actually did as like a strength set. So low cadence, low heart rate, higher watts. 15 minutes, average power 235. Average heart rate 143, cadence 61. So just a low gear strength effort, which I haven't done a lot of at all in recent times, not since before Mooloolaba when I was training for triathlon. So the reason I put that 15 minutes in there is it adds load into the legs without frying them. So the lactate that builds up is extremely low, if probably none. So it doesn't really leave you flogged at all. And it means that it's just that extra bit of load there for the heavier efforts later on in the set. So 15 minutes, low cadence, average power 235, and then an easy 5 minutes before getting into the main set. 5 minutes, average power 146. All right, so the main set was 3 by 10 minutes as 7 minutes and 3 minutes, where the 7 minutes was hard, 3 minutes was harder. 7 minutes, average power 250 watts, average heart rate 150. So these are all with more of a race cadence. So I'm not doing strength, keeping the cadence up, which increases heart rate and also produces more lactate. So 250 watts average heart rate 150, average cadence 84, into 3 minutes, average power 271, average heart rate 159, cadence 85, on a 5 minute very easy recovery there at 152. So I did 3 sets of those. 1, 2, 3, all very similar. They'll all be identical, just rolling with a program, rolling with a set built into the Garmin that I've made in Training Peaks and synced straight across. So literally hit start on the Garmin and just make sure you pedal and it does everything else. Technology, it's amazing. Second effort, 7 minutes, average power 249, average heart rate 152, 3 minutes, 271, average power 161, heart rate. So heart rate slowly creeping up through these, which is to be expected later on in the set. Rep 3, average power 250, average heart rate 154, 3 minutes, 271, average heart rate 163. So I'm hitting 167 max heart rate on that last effort, as opposed to 165 and 161 on the earlier efforts. So it's great to see how heart rate drifts throughout a set. And it's something to be mindful of when you're building these sets. I think that you kind of have to think about the last effort and where you're going to be in that last effort. The first efforts may feel too easy, but knowing that last effort's always going to be pretty tough and heart rate's going to be up, we kind of got to think about that as we're building these sets and trying to figure out where we want to be. Max heart rate on that last one, 167. 5 minutes recovery, average power 151, heart rate back down to 126. And then I did 4 lots of too hard, too easy. So 2 minutes on, 279 average, max heart rate 161. 2 minutes off, 2 minutes on, 279 average, 165. 280 average, max heart rate 161. Then our last one, 282 average, max heart rate 161. So essentially pushed that last one as hard as I could, knowing that after that I was just straight into a cool down. Very easy short cool down, 5 minutes, average power 116 just to flush, and that was that done. So that kind of mimicked the bunch ride a little bit, but probably not perfectly, but I actually felt really good doing it and probably got more out of it without killing my legs as much. So on a bunch ride, we'd probably go a bit deeper on the efforts, kind of only do a few efforts, but probably a bit deeper, which leaves you a little bit cooked. So probably didn't pull up as bad from this one as I would have from a bunch ride. So that was good. Back to our summary. Yeah, so hour 51 completed. Normalized power 219. Average heart rate 138. So it was humid downstairs, very, very humid. And it was good to sweat. Tuesday afternoon, 30 minutes on the treadmill, 30 minutes planned, 32 minutes completed, 5:23 average. So racing on the Sunday, I was just mindful of the run load during the week, and I didn't want to bank up too much mileage. I'm still very cautious with it, and my goal for it is to still just be good and be smart with it. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. So just being mindful of that. Dropped a little bit off these afternoon runs this week just to kind of ensure that I wasn't overdoing it. And I wanted to be fresh for today, and I wanted to run well today. So just being mindful of that, trying to shed a bit of that load. So 32 minutes complete, 5:23 average heart rate 136. Straight into the freezer, 7 minutes. Flush those legs out. Wednesday morning. So the last couple of Wednesdays, I've kind of tried to do a pretty big session. Again, knowing I was racing this week, I still wanted to put in some volume, but wanted to make sure that I wasn't cooking myself. So I built this set just built it based on a couple of things that I've seen over the past weeks of sets people were doing in their race weeks. So it's about trial and error for me, doing my own program. I'm kind of playing with some things and seeing how I race based on the sessions I do that week, or the 2 weeks prior, all that kind of stuff. So it's really good fun to kind of go through this process and do my own program and figure out what works for me. So this set, hour 20 planned, completed hour 19, average pace 432, average heart rate 137. The main set for this was 2 lots of 2 by 1 mile, 2 by 800, 2 by 400, 2 by 200 at increasing paces. So our mile efforts were at marathon pace, 800's a bit quicker, 400's quicker again, 200's quicker again. So by the time I got up to those 200, 400s and 200s, I wanted to be running 10K pace. So let's click into this one and work our way through it. So a nice long warm up, 30 minutes. Ashley joined me for the warm up today, though he didn't do any of the session. So nice good warm up, 32 minutes, average heart rate 122, average pace 505. Our first mile rep, 6:16, average heart rate 146, average pace 354. So a 6:16 mile is 354 pace. There you go. For all you Americans out there. 3 minutes float recovery. So I really wanted to float these. I didn't want to stop and rest. I wanted to float them. So 3 minutes at 439s, average heart rate 139. Next mile rep 6:15, average heart rate 153, average pace 353. This is right on marathon pace. 3 minute float, 456 average heart rate 143. Into 2 by 800s, first rep 341 average, 257, average heart rate 154. So just a 2 minute float on these 800s, 439 average, 257 for the 800 again. So coming through those 800s in identical times. 156 average heart rate, average pace 342, 2-minute float 437 into 2x400s. Again, increase in pace. I want to be coming close to kind of 10k pace now. Average pace 327, average heart rate 156. So I went through 400 in 122. 1-minute float 415 average. Second 400 124. So that's 332 average. Average heart rate 159. 1-minute float 417s into 2x200. And for these, I kind of wanted to almost run them as quick as I could at this point in the workout. So I went through 238 seconds, 314 average, average heart rate 160, 30-second float 351 average, the last 200, 324 average for 40.9 seconds into a 30-second float 413s, and then a decent cool down 11 and a half minutes there. So this set was good to go through those zones. Nice long warm up to just build a bit of mileage into the legs. Again, I still don't want to completely drop all that mileage in race week, and I kind of wanted to play with still doing a semi-hard session kind of 3-4 days out from a race to see how I would feel on race day. So it's good fun going through that process and playing with all that kind of stuff, kind of using myself as an experiment, so that's real fun. And like this session actually went off without a hitch. I felt really good. Weather was good. Hit the splits I wanted to. Maybe wouldn't have minded running those 200s and 400s a little bit quicker, but nonetheless was still within the zones that I wanted to hit. And more importantly, another 17.5k in the legs, and feeling good. Like the weather is, as opposed to the day before on the Tuesday when it was still super wet, miserable. Today on the Wednesday was great weather and very, very enjoyable. So that was hour 19, 432s, 137 average heart rate. Now I wore this week for this session the Endorphin Pro 2 from Saucony. As we get through the next couple of sessions, I kind of realized a couple of things about that shoe. I've worn these shoes quite a lot, and there's been a thing that happens sometimes, and I've never really been able to put my finger on what it was until this week. So it was great to understand. It was great to pick up on a trend that was happening when I was wearing those shoes, actually. So great session Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, 30 minutes on the treadmill, 455 average today. Actually, I don't think I ever changed that. Let's change that to 6. I would have just done 6k. There's no way I would have done more. 6k. That makes 501 average. Let's just change that to 31. There we are. So 30 minutes planned, 30.05 completed, 6Ks, 136 average heart rate. So I used Hoka Rincons for this treadmill session. It says Clifton 4 there, but that's the only shoe I got in my training peaks. So everything is defaulted to Clifton 4. Actually, there's a Zoom Fly there, but I definitely don't use that anymore. So Hoka Rincon for this treadmill session. Next session, Wednesday afternoon, I got in for a massage, 1 hour, and it left me so sore. I ended up pulling up really well over the next couple of days afterward, and I think that this was half the reason why I managed to run so well today. This massage, it left me pretty sore and a bit beat up, though as always with massage, plenty of fluid right after, good food that night, and a good sleep. You're going to feel a bit sore and tender the next day, though progressively throughout the Thursday, I just felt better and better and better and better. So glad I got in for that. And I've actually booked kind of every 2 weeks for the next month or so, just to ensure I'm keeping on top of that stuff now. Thursday morning, easy recovery ride again. Same loop as every Thursday. If you're not sure what I'm doing, go back to the last couple of weeks and have a look. Exact same loop. This time from home. Nice and fresh out again. Wonder if we got the temperature here. Average temp 11 degrees. Like, you just can't beat that. Pretty fresh, but not so cold that it's a bit miserable. Easy ride. Flush the legs out. Keep moving. And after that massage, like, I needed that easy ride. I didn't feel completely rubbish, but I felt even better again after doing this ride. So planned 2 hours, completed 1 hour 52. Average heart rate 109. Normalized power 163. So barely pushing the pedals. Thursday afternoon, what do we got? Ride home from work. Thursday afternoon again, treadmill heat session. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. Coming into Gold Coast, I want to incorporate a bit of a heat session weekly on the treadmill, and I'll probably increase the time that I'm spending on the treadmill. So this was kind of just a bit of a tester session. So downstairs, I've got my room set up, and I've got a nice split system aircon in there that can crank out some pretty warm temps. So I've cranked it up as high as it goes, up to 30 degrees, and put it on the highest setting. As well as that, I've bought I think they're called a hydrometer. It measures air temp and relative humidity. So it's good to monitor that as well whilst I'm training, to see how things change. And it's, as I'm on there training, the humidity will actually rise in the room. So it must be the sweat that I'm producing that actually increases the humidity over the duration of the session. Starting this session out, the room temp was about 29, but the relative humidity was only about 51. I think by the end of this session, the room temperature had risen to above 30, so it was about 30.5, but the relative humidity had gone all the way up to 61. And I think if I stayed on there longer, it would actually increase more. So I think after 30 minutes, it's kind of only just getting to the temperature and the environment that I really want. So I want to spend longer on the treadmill in that environment. And some other things I'm going to play with is putting some wet clothes in the room to try and create a bit more moisture and a bit more humidity, and just kind of bank those, do some heat work leading into Gold Coast. I don't think that Gold Coast is going to be hot, but I think it still pays to put in some heat work, especially when it's so cold out and fresh out every day. You kind of just don't get exposed to that. And the adaptions you can get from heat are epic, in my opinion. Kind of like a poor man's altitude camp. And along with that, if time allows, would love to get in some half a dozen sauna sessions, or at least 4 or 5 leading into Gold Coast over the next month or so, just to build that system up a bit more. On the off chance we do get a hot day in Gold Coast, it'll be great to ensure that I have that. If it's not hot, then it's not going to be any harm to also have that, and probably perform better anyway from it. So that was good. 32 minutes, 6Ks, 520 average heart rate 133. I will just click into this one actually to have a look at the heart rate graph. So I just held this on an even speed the whole way through. Let's throw the heart rate on there. So it was just a gradual, slow increase with this, where on a normal treadmill session, heart rate wouldn't really, this continually just kind of increase, and it's a bit hard to see on this graph. But it ends up coming all the way up to, we got 145 there. So for 520 pace, coming up to, 1 145. That's definitely from the heat and the environment that's in that room doing that. So that was great. I'm going to keep doing that at least once a week. Moving forward, medium long run, Friday morning, 119 completed, 451 average heart rate 127. So moving back to Thursday, for this treadmill session, I wore the Endorphin Pro again. Now, Friday morning, waking up, getting out of bed. Actually, let's go back to Thursday. Thursday morning, waking up, getting out of bed after wearing the Endorphin Pro on Wednesday morning session. I woke up and maybe my first 4 or 5 steps out of bed felt like I had a rock under my foot, kind of up at the end of the metatarsal there where the toe joins. It felt like I had a rock under there. So my first few steps were quite painful, but I went on with the day with no problems. Wore the Endorphin Pro again on the treadmill Thursday afternoon. Didn't notice anything. Didn't feel sore. Didn't have any inflammation after using the shoe that afternoon. Friday morning, waking up, same feeling, but worse. Kind of right up in there. So those first few steps, probably more this time. Probably the first few minutes of walking around, I'm like, oh man, that is sore. But this has happened in the past and it's never been a problem. So I just proceeded as normal for that Friday morning run. Proceeded as normal. Starting the run, a bit tender and a bit sore, kind of each step, just on my left foot, each step. So after 10-15 minutes, it warmed right up, and to the point where like there was zero pain at all. I completely forgot about it. Did the run again, wore the Endorphin Pro, did the run, and then that day at work, moving around on my feet, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse, and it was super sore, like really, really sore on Friday afternoon. I got home, took my shoes off, and literally like was wondering if it was broken or like if there was going to be bruising or whatever. But no matter what I did, I was pushing it and trying to like hurt it, but there was no kind of pain or whatever. It was only when I kind of put my whole body weight pressure on it. That was a bit shitty. Kind of had just some anti-inflammatories that afternoon to try to get it to settle a little bit. And then I didn't know how it was going to feel on Saturday morning. So I was kind of not sure on if I wanted to go and do parkrun, though I wasn't real sure. So again, I just kind of made a bit of a backup plan. And my backup plan was to get on the trainer downstairs if it was too sore. So let's keep moving forward. So this was medium long run, Friday morning. I ran the Rocky River Run 10K loop. Average pace 451, average heart rate 127. Beautiful morning, feeling good, moving well, covering the ground well. Friday afternoon, I kind of dicked around with a bit of freezer and then kind of just some stretching and mobility work on the ground up here. Very short, very simple stuff, but ticked that off and hit all those key areas. So Saturday morning, I've ended up having to do my backup session. So my parkrun session that I had planned was simply 40 minutes easy and then 5Ks at around 415 average. So it took a lot of willpower for me to drop that completely and get on the bike downstairs, because I'm just loving running at the moment and I want to keep going, but trying to play it smart, knowing that I was racing the next morning. Dropped it completely. Dropped due to injury, and I've self-diagnosed myself as metatarsalgia is what we're going to call it. So if you want to know more about that, go and Google it. But essentially it's just an inflammation of the metatarsal in the foot, mostly around the big toe, but mine's kind of the fourth one there I went into a bit of Dr. YouTube and researched the shit out of it, as we do as athletes. Self-diagnosed myself, and then agreed that it's not going to be a problem if I just let it settle. So that's what I did. Jumped on the trainer instead, did a backup session. So racing the next morning, 10K, doing a 10K race the next morning. This had efforts involved, but nothing super heavy. Let's give us some heart rate again. I know how much y'all love heart rate. Show, there we are. So a very simple session, a long warm up again with some building through some steps. So 10 minutes, average power 123, 5 minutes 145 average, 5 minutes 159 average, 5 minutes 175, 5 minutes 187, 10 minutes 210 average. So just kind of a steady tempo into an easy 5 minutes 159 average, just to reset for a couple of harder efforts. And when I say hard, I don't mean hard, just a good steady tempo, probably around what I'd kind of Ironman power. 232 average for 10 minutes, 5 minutes easy 132, 10 minutes 231 average, 5 minutes easy 133 average, and then 4 lots of 30 seconds just to really open the legs up. So 30 seconds, 313, 314, 313, 311, and then 5 minutes cool down. So that session left me feeling fresh, and it was still hard. Even during the set, I'm thinking, I'm just going to throw my shoes on and jump on the treadmill for 1K. I'm just going to do 1K after this bike session, just because I wanted to run. So it took all my willpower to not do that, and I'm glad that I was able to do it, because it's just a really good reminder that we're not invincible, and it's important to look after yourself when you're doing these kind of training weeks and prepping for a big race. You're going to end up putting so much into it, and from experience, you just want to, it's gut-wrenching to have injury, and it's super deflating, especially when you put so much into it, and to break down 2 weeks or a week before an event, it's super gut-wrenching. So my mindset for this, as I've said a couple of times now, is to just really err on the side of caution, run hard when I'm feeling well, and if I'm starting to niggle and nag, pull back a little bit. The beauty of being a triathlete, I guess, is we have other options. So whilst I'm focusing on running mostly, and I want to run as much as I can, if I can't, it's very easy to jump on the bike, and you don't lose fitness by doing that. You probably actually gain fitness. It's just that conditioning of the running that you just don't have, that you may not have as much as you really want. But getting to the start line healthy is the goal. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. So that was good. 1 hour 24, normalized power 194, average heart rate 119. All right, next up. So that was our missed session, and I just threw a comment on there to remind myself whenever I may need to go back and have a look at this. Why didn't I do that? Comment. Easy. All right. So that's my week so far up to Saturday. Let's just click out of that. So the whole goal of this week was to go through the motions of a good race week and make some mental notes, because I want to learn for Gold Coast in 6 weeks' time. So kind of making some mental notes on how I feel during the week, what the sessions were, and kind of how that all fitted together. I really wanted to run on Saturday morning because Gold Coast weekend, I'm not going to have my bike there. So I will be getting out to run on Saturday morning prior to the event. And I just wanted to go through the motions of doing that to see how I felt on race morning today. Unfortunately, didn't get that, but that's fine. I've learnt enough from this week now that I can take that through that Gold Coast race week. So coming into the Rocky River Run, 12 months ago, I ran, I think it was 34:32 or 34:33 or something like that. At the time, that was my PB. So was really looking forward to racing this weekend to try and knock that over and defend the title. That's kind of what kept me honest this week, and that's what I had to keep thinking about yesterday morning when I really, really wanted to run and couldn't. Not so important. So let's click into this bloody river run and have a look at it. So warm up 7:27 a.m. I planned kind of a bit of a longer warm up, but kind of lost track of time a little bit. Watched the start of the half marathon, and then just wanted to make sure I was at the start line in prime position, on pole position, to ensure that I was there on time